walk-up music was supposed to be Van Halen, but we couldn't afford it. So I appreciate it. ACA Connects is delighted to welcome Calix President and CEO Michael Weening. Michael came to Calix from Salesforce, where he served as Senior VP of Global Customer Success. And he's been with Calix for a little bit, for about 7 years. And in 2021, he became the President and CEO. And last September, he became the CEO of Calix. And we are so delighted for our friends that have sponsored a number of events. Michael spoke with our board yesterday, and we couldn't be more delighted to have him here to talk today and to visit with you all. So with that, Michael Weening.
Thanks, John.
How are you? Thanks for being with us. Have a seat.
Thanks.
All right, I'm going to grill him. Okay, so this is, we were talking about a second.
Questions right from the beginning.
All right, so, Grant and I got to go to the Calix ConneXions conference out in Vegas back in the fall. And I've been, like a bunch of you guys out there, to a zillion conferences over the years. And that was just crazy. Man, it was one of the best conferences I'd ever been to. So much fun. I mean, how can you not have fun in Vegas at the Wynn? So, but just the amount of enthusiasm that was there with your clients, and I guess there were some folks there kicking tires too that maybe weren't your clients yet.
Of course.
But one thing, I took a lot of things away from that, but one thing that I did, and I want you to do right now, take your phone out, or if you're looking at your work email or Facebook or whatever you're looking at, go to LinkedIn and check this dude out, man. He brings the truth when it comes to his LinkedIn posts. So I urge you to, if you're not following him today, that you follow him before this day is over. So
don't follow, let's connect.
Connect.
I'm glad to help anybody.
That's definitely a better way to say that. So can you talk a little bit about what you guys are planning for your connections coming up this fall?
Sure. We're really proud of that event. Last year we had about 2,600 people there. And, the way we approach that is the same way we kind of approach our customers. We think of it as a community. So we have a great affiliation with ACA and organizations like yourself, because that's how we think about our customers and what we do. And if you come to ConneXions, it's really our big gathering, and it's all about learning and innovation. And when I say learning and innovation, the first one is that our customers love to learn off each other. And so the greatest learnings in my career, and I really reinforced this when I was at Salesforce in my global roles, is that the greatest learnings and the greatest ways to overcome challenges is actually to have customers together, talking about what they've done really well, also where they failed, because for those of us who've had 40-year careers, I'm sure many of us have all noticed that the best way we learn is when we fail. And so in that event is all about workshops. Workshops. And what you'll find is that the customers there are the ones who are sharing. So we do something that's really important called circles of success. And what they are is they're small tables like that, and it's about 10 people at a table. There's a Calix moderator, and there'll be a topic, and then there's 9 customers, and the moderator kicks it off, and then the customers start talking. And what comes out of that is that, well, I've got this problem with regards to I'm not getting, I have 30% market share. I need to get 60% market share. My speed-based campaigns aren't working. What should I be doing? And then people will say, well, I tried this, it didn't work. These people will say, here's what I've done, and it works. And that collaboration is kind of the essence of who we are as a company, which then leads to innovation. And as I've said with many people, we've spent the last 12 years and over $1.2 billion building out the world's only end-to-end software and cloud platform for broadband service providers. And I say broadband service providers because the notion of cable and telco is gone. There's no such thing. We are moving into an era where everyone's a broadband provider. And so on top of that platform, as I've joked, we have all these engineers. And I know there's lots of people in this room who work with engineers, and engineers think that they know what people want, and they love to go build things and hope that they come. I don't subscribe to that, right? I would actually rather sit down with our customers, get all their feedback, and then say, what would you like to build? And that's where the innovation part comes out. If you were at our main stage was me bringing up CEOs who literally have called me and said, we have this business opportunity or we have this problem. I'd like to fix it. How do we do that? And the best example I can give is Brad Moline from Allo. Yep. Many people know Allo as they go after millions of subscribers and continue to grow across Nebraska, Arizona, and Colorado. He called me 2 summers ago and he said, I really worry about the digital divide. I really worry that with COVID, what's happened is that divide's got larger. And he said, because, you think about the poor children, right? Those of us who have good economic means, we were able to support our children through COVID. They had access to broadband, they had the fancy laptops, they had big monitors, they had good web cameras, all that kind of stuff. But the poor child was actually taking the laptop that the educational institution gave them and hopefully trying to get broadband from the Starbucks or the McDonald's. Mm-hmm. And he said, I really do think we have this opportunity where if we can convert all of our routers into basically small cells and create a ubiquitous mesh across the town, which means I don't have to invest any more capital, I just get it because it's software. Mm-hmm. Can I go do that and then partner with my educational institutions to make that available to all students? And we were so impressed with that idea that I got my R&D team together in the next week. 2 weeks later, we completely changed our entire roadmap for the next 2 years. And 8 months later, we had it into pilot. That's the power of customers' innovation, and they give us really great ideas. And so that's really what it's about, is what are the problems that you want to solve, and how can we take clouds and platforms and really overcome those challenges. And I'm proud to say in that scenario, he now has 5 schools actually actively involved. We're piloting it. And for the policy people in this room, it becomes a fascinating opportunity because a lot of you, if you're a COO, GM, CEO, you recognize, because you're smaller providers, your brand and that community centricity is so important. We believe that from a policy point of view, this is where we're partnering with those customers and with him specifically, going to the governor and say, how would we like to make this happen for all students, right? Yep. And completely transform it. And I grew up poor, right? My parents didn't have it. I couldn't afford a lot, those kind of things. And so it's something that's near and dear to my heart too. And I know in this crowd, because you guys are the backbone of America, it's near and dear because you've transformed your communities. And again, that's what I love the most, is that this is not big companies here. This is 42% of our customers are cooperatives, and they all really care. Yeah. And so that's kind of, I think, the ethos and the vibe you get out of the event in a big way. Yeah. So you've got to save the date at your table. So, we're going to have a reception a little bit later on. Stop by, pick up the information. And if you're a partner with you guys today and you are interested in what Michael's talked about, what Allo's doing, they've got plenty of folks here to talk to. So give them a holler. Yeah, and I would just say the other part too is that we run it as tracks. So there's a lot of C-levels in the room. We actually run a leadership track. And again, this is something that I brought from my background when I worked for Microsoft and Salesforce. Actually, we run a really high-end leadership executive track. So, in fact, our customers are having a private session with Simon Sinek in a week. If you're familiar with the author, we're really proud that Daniel Pink, and if you haven't read his books on drive and motivation, the power of regret, he actually was a keynote at the last event, and he will actually be running the leadership track this time. So we generally have 300 or 400 CEOs there and COOs, and it's all around how do I become a better leader, which we're really passionate about, because honestly, if you're going to transform a company through this, it requires great leadership. And I'll let you in on something. Oh, this is taped. I can't tell you who the keynote is. But it's our secret. No, I can't tell you who the keynote is. But the keynote is another very distinguished author who's incredible. We're releasing it soon, and then there'll be opportunities to meet with them and talk, because it's about learning. Yeah, well, that's what they call a tease. So look for that, and we'll see what happens. If it wasn't recorded, I'd tell you. But that's all right. No, I understand. Because my marketing team would literally kill me. So it's fair to say if people have gotten to know you a little bit, I think you come to the CEO role maybe a little different than other folks do. So what's important to you as a leader? Yeah, so I've been very fortunate. So when I was at Salesforce, I had this decision to make. Do I go and continue on a track there, and pursue a president's role there? I had an opportunity to move to the executive team at a big cloud company pre-IPO. And then out of the blue, I got a call from Calix to come and talk to him. And I looked at it and I'm like, PON, no, I'm not interested in a networking company. But then I met Carl Russo. And for people who haven't met Carl Russo, this is his third multi-billion-dollar company. He sold his second one for $7 billion to Cisco in 1999. And honestly, he's the smartest person I've ever met in my life, and I've met Bill Gates. And he was accepted into MIT at 14, like that level smart. And when he explained how he saw the evolution of broadband, and really the vision that we're implementing is his, not mine, right? But I bought into it. And he saw that broadband's going to change. And, he calls it, he's more professorial than I am. He called it the great outdoor land. But he saw where this concept of telcos and those folks and cable, everything goes away and you have broadband. And then it's got to be, how do I use software in the cloud to completely transform how I run my business? And that was 12 years ago that started. And so he called me at the 7-year mark, and a 1-hour conversation went to 8 hours. And we got into it, and I realized, first of all, there's a lot I could learn. Yeah. And second of all, what an amazing opportunity to really help what was the backbone of the company to small and medium service providers, right? Because we're not the company, while Verizon sole sourced their next generation fiber network to us, that's not who we serve. Their 95% of our customers are small and medium regional providers, primarily in North America. And being part of that community is really key. So I also really keyed into there's a massive sense of purpose. And we're very fortunate because your purpose is actually really easy for us to get around. So when you ask me what's most important as a CEO, it's all about people. How do I get really great people inside our company to come into this industry, get really excited? And I will tell you that when we recruit, and we're hiring between 150 and 200 people a quarter, and we've been doing that now for a while. We've tripled the company. We'll be well over $1 billion this year. We're going to continue to grow. But to take people from Google and Salesforce and Facebook and all these other companies and get them interested in what we're doing, I talk about you all the time. I talk about you being the small and medium service provider who is in the community, who really cares, who wants to transform education, bring services into that community. And I go back to Dan Rodemaker, who's the CEO of an electric cooperative who's gotten into broadband, and he serves the 13th poorest district in the United States. And when he was on stage with me 2 years ago, he said, the reason why we did it is, 1, no one would come, and 2, because of the fact that we knew it would have a multi-generational impact. And he was basically talking about, we are going to raise children out of poverty. We are going to bring new jobs. And in fact, a security leader that we recently hired from one of the FANG companies, she said, are you really an all virtual company? And Calix is all virtual. We've been all virtual since 2016. And that's something that I really pushed. It was partly there, and I pushed it over the edge. I've always believed in an all virtual company. And she said, are you really all virtual? Because my existing company is trying to drag me back into the office. And we said, absolutely not. And she goes, well, what if I moved to rural Tennessee? We said, well, we have a customer there. He's got fiber. And so as long as you can go and get yourself a really good broadband connection, we don't care where you live. So she left Portland, and she went and she's living on a mountain somewhere, but she's got great connectivity. And so when we focus on those people and really talk about purpose, it's got to be about what you do. And what you do is, like, back to the event last night, I said to your board, if you think about the inception of the internet, it was the cable operators that brought the internet, right? Yeah. Because when you started to release, your first generations of DOCSIS that gave us 100 meg and 200 meg, and that initial where speed used to be important, it enabled BitTorrent. And while you can talk about, copyright acts, BitTorrent was actually transformative because it completely changed digital, right? It forced music companies and everybody else to change, right? It brought Netflix. It brought all these other things. Basically, you created the internet or made it possible. And now we're at this incredible opportunity where we go to that next level and say, how do we transform our communities in even the 13th poorest region? Yeah. So people's everything. Get those people into our industry. We're super excited about it.
Yeah, no, I got some friends that have come to work for you in the past year or so, and talking about the intensity. Just it's a difficult process for some folks to get through. That you guys really work hard at trying to hire really, really good people.
Yeah, I personally believe in a philosophy that I heard from an executive at Microsoft years ago, which is hire slow, fire fast, right? And it's really important that there's a lot of debate on that. I constantly get that we need to go higher faster. And I'm like, no way. Because you bring one person in and they're wrong and it's toxic to your culture. And so we're really, really focused on the right people. And our customers help us find great people too.
Yeah. Yep. No, I think you guys just continue to do what you're doing because you're doing it right as far as what I can see. We've heard about the digital divide today. We've heard a lot about it the last 3 years as we've been through this pandemic. I'm just kind of curious, what's your perspective at Calix as it comes to trying to solve this divide?
I think the people in this room do that.
Yeah.
And actually, I think that you don't get enough credit for what you've already done. And I heard one gentleman actually say that, right? Hey, we've already made these investments before you showed up with your government funding, right? And I think that, for all the hubbubaloo with big companies that are saying, I'm going to go do this, that, and the other thing, the only people who really get it done in rural America are actually family-run businesses, local cooperatives, those types of folks. And we see it every single day because the reason why is because they walk down to the local supermarket, they bump into someone and they say, hey, George, you're really ticking me off because I'm not happy and I can't get it out of my farm and all those things, right? And so I think that it's these people in the room that do it. And that really comes down to, it's great that the government is putting the money in. It's super necessary. No, satellite is not relevant. Satellite's great if you got a yacht. Satellite's great if you're living on a mountain. But beyond that, actually, it needs to be a strong fiber connection into every home, which will be 95% of homes. Because once you put it in, it's a 40-year asset, right? And you can upgrade it simply by just changing the endpoints. And so, between private, public, cooperatives, all these different groups, it becomes interesting. So the government will take 10 years to slowly roll that out. It'll be a nice trickle over time. But at the same time, all of you will keep doing the amazing work that you're doing and deserve all the applause and credit for, because you're the ones who are already solving the digital divide every single day. And I cannot be prouder than we get the opportunity to serve your success and help your companies.
Yeah. So, a lot of our members are smaller. You just described the vast majority of the members at ACA Connects. So I've got we built a DOCSIS plant, 750 megahertz HFC plant in 2002. We've upgraded this or that. We've split these nodes and that kind of thing. And now I'm at this crossroads. I've got more cable modem customers than I know what to do with, and they want more and more and more up, not really down, because they're still in the speed talk. That's how they're kind of communicating with our members. What are some of the things that you think these folks should be thinking about as they try to navigate into this next platform?
Well, we have lots of customers like that. Let's take Schurz, for example, right? They're an aggregator of systems. So they have telco companies, they have cable companies, and in the end, one of the things that the value of a platform is actually doesn't matter what's underneath of it; it all connects. So we have lots of DOCSIS customers who are connecting DOCSIS to fiber. It really just comes down to, look, let's not be naive. You have greenfield and you have brownfield. And it really comes down to economic decisions. So if I have my brownfield, I'm under assault, and I'm losing share because someone's trying to overbuild me, then I have to decide if I'm going to abandon that market, I'm going to cash cow that market, or am I going to, overbuild myself? And it really just comes down to an executive decision. But the nice thing is that we have actually got, again, we're 12 years into this, building the platform. What we've actually done a good job of is simplifying. You're not buying a ton of different boxes. That's what the industry is kind of plagued with and this is where big companies have an advantage over little companies. Is in the past, the big companies could go and take all these different boxes and then have massive IT teams and cobble the technology together, right? But for the little customer, that's really hard. First of all, I have to attract the people to my local region. Then I have to retain them. I have to educate them. And then I have to figure out, how do I make a Juniper unit work with an AdTrain unit with this box and that box and that box, and just hope and pray that it doesn't break, right? So what we've done is really said, no, put a platform over top of it, just connect it all in and make it simple. And so that's really what our customers are looking towards us for, which is how do we take the democratizing power of software and clouds and make that available so a small service provider, and I mean this with all honesty, there is no reason why a small service provider cannot crush a big telco or a big cable company. If they come into your markets, you can beat them because you can be way faster with what we've done. and at radically higher margins.
Yeah.
And that's, Salesforce proved that model. If you look at the building of Salesforce as a cloud company, they didn't start with AT&T and General Electric. They started out with all the small customers. And then they permeated that technology up. Because if you solve for the small customers and make it really simple for them to run their business, then over time you can scale up, which is why we're really proud. The same technology that's running Verizon's next generation fiber network that will have 100 million subscribers is actually running in Cedar Falls with 2,000 customers. And simple with autonomy. And, I'm really excited because if we look around, the biggest crisis we face is everyone's going to retire in our employment pool. So we need to start leveraging things like AI. Otherwise, we're not going to have employees. Because last time I looked, my son who just graduated from computer science isn't saying, I want to go and work for a telco or a cable company. Yeah. They don't want to go work on networks. They want to go do AI and all those things, right? So we got to figure out how to make this all autonomous and also give them jobs that they love.
Yeah. You guys are seeing the same thing, right? You're worried. You got some folks that have been there 25, 30 years. Not quite sure who's coming up behind them or where you're going to steal them from. Yeah, no, it's a real big issue.
Now, I would say the good thing for us is that, let's be clear, work from home is here to stay. So you actually have, the COVID in that regard was really great for all of us. It was great for us, right? And the recent layoffs that they've had in Silicon Valley have been awesome because what they did was they completely polluted the last 2 years. In 2021 and 2022, they should all be ashamed. A lot of those CEOs should be fired for the fact that they massively overhired, meaning that you and us had to really struggle and take wages way up and all these kind of things to compete when it was actually artificial competition. And now what they did was they just laid off 100,000 people, which they never should have hired in the first place, and it would have helped all of you get those people into your markets. Yeah. So I hope that we don't ever face that again, and that, and again, you have a unique benefit. Isn't it great? Hey, move out of San Francisco, move out of all these other places, come move to our town, have a bigger house, be part of the community, hang out in the, the fair.
Yeah, no, we've got room for you in Mount Sterling, Kentucky.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, come on.
Kentucky's absolutely beautiful. Some good bourbon there too?
A little bit. Yeah, we have some. So let's step away from that a little bit. You talked
the bourbon or the higher?
No, we got time for bourbon later. All right. About 5 o'clock. You talked a lot yesterday, and in times before where I've heard you, transform the community. Just let's step away from the technology stuff. Just can you give us some examples, things that you like to talk about of how your company has helped some of these communities out there where you've done work?
Well, I gave you the example of what, the conversation with Brad and Allo around transforming the community and actually turning every single Wi-Fi router into basically a small cell.
Yeah.
This is a huge opportunity. And people say, well, what about community Wi-Fi? No. This is actually taking existing infrastructure and then adding incremental levels of capacity, because there's all this latent capacity, to transform it. And not only education, but wouldn't it be great if you go to the mayor and say, police, fire, ambulance, instead of them roaming on a device and costing you a lot of money, wouldn't it be great if they can connect into a securely authenticated Wi-Fi network that exists everywhere that you don't have to rebuild because it already exists, and they could offload everything. They can get their laptops running. If they've got a body camera, it can automatically upload. There's all these types of ways. For example, we're also talking to meter companies around, they're putting 5G and 4G into electric utility and water meters. Why isn't that on that ubiquitous network? And then the other one we're really passionate about, and this really came from Jimmy Todd at Nextech and his organization around their cooperative, and they're very focused on business. We're really, really passionate about small business. Let's be honest, if you think about the greatest employment that exists in most countries, the lifeblood of the economy is supported by small and medium business, right? And so we're really pushing forward, and this again came from our customers who said, we're trying to take all these enterprise solutions and drive them down into small business. So what I'm asking the baker to do is at 4 a.m. go bake the bread, and then go and grab the admin on your Ubiquity system that I installed for you and try and figure out how to run it, and please don't call me, which doesn't drive any revenue. And that was literally the use case that our customers said all the time. I'm trying to take these enterprise solutions and drive them into small business. It doesn't work. And so what we're really excited about on transforming community is actually, we heard another gentleman yesterday say that, where I'm really worried that if the small business doesn't have all the things that they need, that including employment, like employees, that they're going to move to another region.
Right.
And so we're doing technology enablement with what we've launched with Smart Business with that customer and then going out to others. And what we really think is interesting is that once you get the management element in place, then we start adding a whole ecosystem on top of it. And one of the partners we're talking about that we're going to integrate is actually facial recognition for foot traffic analysis. So I'm the baker, right? Am I going to go and analyze foot traffic in my bakery? I can't do that. What am I going to do? At night, I'm on my website and I'm looking through it and trying to figure out how I'm going to do it. No, but if my service provider, who I trust, says, here's a $10 a month application. We're going to run a couple webinars to show you how to use it. And what it's going to give you is a couple reports on where people go and and what they look at, like Walmart does with thousands of BI specialists. We're actually going to do that for you, and here's the value you're going to get. Then I'm like, wow, that's really great. Or even just something as simple as a fully managed security solution and to protect my bakery from break-ins. And there's all kinds of ancillary businesses. And again, you have been the backbone of the community with regards to connectivity and video and things like that. We are now going to open it up into a whole plethora of new managed services that can help, that allows them to position themselves to help their communities be successful.
Yeah. Well, so we've got a few minutes left, but to follow up on that, you talked yesterday, I don't remember the brand name, but it was anti-bullying software that you were talking about. Can you say it again?
Bark.
Can you talk about that for just
Sure.
in the time we have left? It's super interesting.
So this came from another, in collaboration, we call it our leadership advisory board. So I have 50 CEOs, COOs, and general managers who we meet with once a quarter, and they really give us feedback on, we walk them through everything that we're doing, and then they help us run our company. And they tell us what to do based upon the things that they need. And one of the conversations we had was when we were talking about the social element is how do we really help the communities? And everyone's passionate about children, And what Bark does is, Bark is a piece of software that actually runs on phones, and parental controls is stop kids from going to bad websites, right? Very basic. But what this is actually social media monitoring. And if you look at what probably is the greatest crisis in rural America right now is suicide and things like that. And what they do is they actually watch social media and then they flag to the parents, your child's being bullied, your child's having suicidal tendencies, there's alcohol, there's all these other things. And they have psychiatrists and all these other people who can partner. And what our customers said, look, this isn't really a money-making thing, but we want to be able to offer it to parents and help partner with Bark to educate, just to get it out there to help the community. So that's an example where a broadband provider can really play a critical role in the community, partnering with the school and all those things. Again, that one's not about making money. That's about doing really great things for the community. And if you look at their website and read what they're doing, there's this one video that's heartbreaking where there's a young child, he's 12 years old-ish, and the mother, and what you see on the mother's phone is it popping up, and it's basically the kid getting these text messages which say, you're a loser, you're not popular, I'm having a party, everyone else at school can come, you can't. Why don't you kill yourself? And then it pops up and it says to the mother, and the video's right on the website, it's tear-jerking. And our customers, they're not psychologists, they're not going to do that, but what they're going to do, this is a great example where we integrate it into our systems and our customers have to do literally nothing to offer that service. We actually have done all the pre-integrations in the billing, they can get it up and running in 2 weeks, and now they can help make that easily available, because the reality is a lot of those parents, like the baker, wouldn't know where to find that. They wouldn't know what the right one to use is, but you actually are going to help them find a great technology that can help make their kids' lives better. And that's a great example that we're super excited about. Again, came from a customer who said, could we do this? And where our partners look to us, why it's so transformative and where this big change is coming, is if they were to go to you all individually, it wouldn't scale. They'd have to do a one-off integration here and a one-off integration here and a one-off integration here. They integrate into our platform once, it just works. And then 2,000 service providers can now provide that as a service if they choose.
Now that is a great example of a customer experience back at the office, right? And you're going to differentiate yourself from the other providers in that community. What are some other examples of things you guys are thinking about? Maybe not now, but just down the road, or where you want to go with that?
On the community side?
Yeah, just on the customer experience. Other things that continue to push and pull on that on the network?
So home security is a big one because it's very sticky. You know, I'm a great example of that, right? So I have a terrible provider in my area. No one has overbuilt it yet. I can't wait till they do. But I have their home security. And it's the exact same home security they put in my house 10 years ago. They haven't upgraded anything. I have this 4-inch thick old Android tablet that runs security. I pay them $75 a month, right?
Wow.
And so, you know, that's a place where we're partnering with Arlo, where we will do all the integrations to provide full security. We've already done it with web cameras. And the web camera thing is really interesting. One of the first pilot customers rolled it out to 100 customers, and the average uptake was, it basically doubled ARPU. It had, because every customer took 5 cameras. But more importantly, when we actually did a survey of those customers, something never seen in my career before, 100 NPS. I have never in my career seen 100 NPS. And that's how satisfied they were. Why? Because they're like me. I certainly don't want to frickin' climb around and set up all these web cameras and make them work, because I'll screw them up and I guarantee my wife will be mad at me. And so I'd rather actually my trusted service provider come and do it, which they did. You know, they've trained their technicians. It's easy to do because we've already pre-integrated it. And now you've got another go-to-market that is super sticky, right?
Right.
Super sticky.
Absolutely. Well, I'm sorry about your experience. I am so glad to have the Frankfurt Plant Board security system. Thank you, those folks out there. Okay, shameless plug for Harvey and Kathy here in the room. But they do a great job, and we're glad they're keeping us safe at my house. So we've got a few minutes. Tell us, leave us with some words of wisdom, some things that you want us to kind of walk away from here today.
Well, first of all, I want to thank the ACA. It's communities and groups of people, like what you do is incredible and very, very important. As we've heard over and over again, the work that you do on educating legislators and those different folks on the important work that you do. First of all, ensuring that the great people in this room get credit for it is the first thing, and then educating on what the right things to do are very, very important. So thanks for the opportunity to partner.
No problem.
You know, and I would say the thing to take about us is that, look, we're all about partnering, and we're very open, as I said earlier, to listening and asking questions and having our customers teach us. You know, the reality is that this market is going to go through a radical transformation. Speed as a go-to-market. If you're the only service provider in that market, then great, a speed-based marketing campaign will work. But what we're generally seeing, and you know, Tom from Schurz is here, he was on stage and he said this because I had to drag him up on stage to say this in front of everybody, is that pretty much every broadband market is going to have 2 fast providers. And so what generally happens when there's 2 fast providers? Well, if they're all speed-based, it is a race to the bottom. It is a commoditization. And all we have to do is look at the mobile market to see that that's the case, right? And you might, you know, what does the mobile market do? They do everything but throw you a free toaster to sign up, right? And we don't want to be in that place. So the key thing here as we go forward is you really got to start thinking about how you're going to differentiate. And that differentiation has to be not just about giving great Wi-Fi. That's 5 years ago. It's actually, you have to step into, how am I going to change the game in my market? And that means understanding all the behaviors of my consumer, whether that's a home or a business, and then positioning the right applications that allow me that are managed and give a great experience. And it's not just what everyone would like to do, which is take an over-the-top service and be a retailer and take 5 points. That doesn't work. You have to add value. And that's really where we've, again, invested over $1 billion into, is making it so the service provider can go way beyond adding value on running a network into actually changing the lives of the home and the business. And so, you know, we're very interested on all the ideas. That's the biggest thing I keep saying to people is, bring us the ideas so that we can continue to collaborate, because now that the platform's in place, we can do anything. And what I don't want is our engineering team deciding what we do. We want our customers deciding what we do. So it's a super exciting opportunity ahead, and you know, great for the U.S. government for making the investments, because once these are in, look, this is the lifeblood of our communities to allow people to leave the urban, live rural, and have a great life while still doing a knowledge worker job that brings taxes and all the other benefits and new constituents to your rural town. It's a super exciting time for all of us.
Well, thanks for sharing your thoughts with us today. Bring your ideas to Michael. He's asking for them. Thanks again for your time.
Thanks, Jim.
Appreciate it.
John, thanks.
Thank you.